There are two main ways to pay off debt. One saves you the most on interest, and the other keeps you motivated enough to get the job done. If you ever felt paralyzed by a mountain of bills and didn't know which one to start with, you're not alone. Nearly a quarter of the people who have debt don't have a clear plan for repayment. Today, I'm breaking down the debt snowball and the debt avalanche to share which strategy will get you to a zero balance the fastest. In this video, I'm going to show you the psychological secret behind why one method creates more success stories than any other, the method that saves you the most in the long run, and a hybrid strategy that gives you the best of both worlds, early momentum and long-term saving. Now, sometimes life feels like you're running a marathon where every time you ask, how much further do we have to go, people just shrug. That's the reality for so many professional women that I speak to. They're working hard, they're earning good money, and they're paying their bills on time. But because they don't have a clear strategy, they can't see the finish line for when they'll be done with paying off their debt. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. Now, we're not going to be fancy the whole video, okay? But it's good to name what this is because it's the idea that our brains stay in a state of high stress as long as we have open loops or unfinished business. So when you have 5 different credit cards and your student loan, those aren't just balances. There are 5 open mental tabs that are draining your battery. Today, we're going to pick the strategy that finally lets you close those tabs and see that there is in fact a finish line. Now, this is especially true if you are working 40 plus hours a week and you still don't feel like you can keep your head above water. The weight of debt isn't just a number, it's an anchor. When you have 5, 6 different debts hitting your inbox every month, it doesn't feel like you just owe money. It could feel like you're being stalked. This is where a lot of people get stuck. They try to put a little bit extra on everything, but the needle doesn't seem to move at all. So now we're going to look at the first strategy, the debt snowball. With the debt snowball, you're going to do something that may sound a little counterintuitive. You're going to ignore your interest rates for just a second. Instead, you're going to list every single debt you have and then order them from the smallest to the largest balance. And your balance is the total amount that you owe to the creditor or loan. So basically, the goal with this strategy is you're going to pay the minimum of all your debts except for one debt of focus. In the snowball, that debt of focus is the smallest debt that you have on that list. Every extra dollar that you have is going to go towards that until it's completely gone. Once that first account hits 0, you take everything that you're paying on it and roll it into the next smallest debt. So this works not because mathematically it's the best, where it's going to save you the most money, but it's because of how you think. Now, remember those open loops that we were talking about? Every time you close an account, your brain gets a hit of dopamine. You see a 0 where there used to be a balance. And for many of the women I work with, this is the moment where they realize they're not just surviving their debt, they're killing it. It takes what feels like a big old mountain and turns it into a series of small hills. So the debt snowball is a great strategy for you if you do feel like you're just overwhelmed by the sheer number of bills. And if you started and stopped payoff plans before, the snowball is exactly how you build momentum to actually stay in the race and get to that finish line. So now let's look at the debt avalanche. So for those of you who are like, hello, I know the interest matters. The debt avalanche might be more appealing to you, especially so if you feel like you don't want to pay one lick of extra interest if you can help it. This is the strategy for you. Now the avalanche is almost completely the opposite of the debt snowball. Instead of looking at the balance, you'll take that same list of debts, but you're going to pay attention to the interest rate. And then you're going to order it from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. And your goal with this strategy is the same idea where you're going to pay a minimum payment on all your debts except for the debt of focus. But this time the debt of focus is your highest interest debt. And you'll put every extra dollar towards that debt. So by killing the highest debt first, you're maximizing speed and efficiency because more money is going to be hitting the principal rather than just covering the cost of borrowing money. So for information's sake, your payments are a combination of the principal, how much you actually borrowed, and the interest. Now, why do some people, even though this technically makes the most mathematical sense, not like this method? Because it could feel like a long haul, right? Your highest interest debt might also be your largest debt. So it might take 6 months, a year, or longer to actually make that balance hit 0. So you have to be okay with not getting those wins if you're going to use this strategy. But the trade-off is that you're going to save more interest in the long run. Therefore, more money in your pocket. So this strategy works best for the highly motivated person that are just motivated by the bottom line. Now, just because there are these two strategies that are primarily used doesn't mean these are the only ways to pay off debt. You could even use a hybrid approach. So maybe you have like 3 small credit cards that just kind of feel like clutter, maybe even these buy now pay later things, right? But you also have one massive student loan or a car note with a high interest rate that's eating your paycheck alive. If you feel stuck between wanting the speed of a win and the efficiency of saving money, you might want to try a modified hybrid strategy. So in this version, you don't have to technically choose a side throughout your whole debt payoff journey. Instead, you can start with a clean sweep. So you can look for any kind of annoying debts, the smaller ones, usually anything under $2,000, $3,000, and you use the snowball method to knock those out first. So that'll help close those open loops very quickly so that you aren't managing 6 different logins, 6 different due dates. It's reducing the noise in your life. But once the small annoyances are gone, you could pivot. You could take all that momentum and point it directly at the remaining debt with the highest interest. So in this case, you're starting off with the snowball method and then shifting into the avalanche method to finish the job. So this is best if you have a lot of these annoying little debts, but you also have some monsters in there that are costing you a fortune in interest. It'll give you the dopamine hit you need to start that momentum going, but also the benefit of saving tons of money on interest down the line. So at the end of the day, the best method is not what looks right on the spreadsheet. It's the one you're actually going to stick to. It's the one that survives your worst month. It's the one you'll stick to even when work gets stressful, even when the car needs new tires, or when you really just want to say, screw it, I'm going on vacation. More than just numbers. It has to do a lot with your whole feeling, history, and future with money. If you know that you need to see progress to stay motivated, choose the snowball. If the thought of paying more in interest than you have to really rubs you the wrong way, use the avalanche method. And if you're somewhere in the middle, go with a hybrid. The big win here is going from confusion over how to get this debt paid down and guessing to executing. Once you pick a lane, the anxiety starts to fade because you have a map. You aren't just running a marathon where nobody knows where it ends. You're following a path that leads you directly to a finish line. Choosing the strategy is your first step. But the truth is, a debt payoff plan is only as good as a system that fuels it. So if you don't know where your money's going every day, it's going to be hard to really stay on track regardless of which method you choose. You'll feel like you're making progress only to be sidelined by a bill you forgot was coming or a spending habit that you haven't quite mastered yet. That's why your next step is to get your daily money management under control so you can actually fund the plan that you chose. I've put together a video called Easy Tips on how to learn money management skills. Here I break down simple habits that'll keep your debt payoff moving in the right direction. Click here to watch that next. I'll see you over there.